My name's Georgina Jacobs and I'm making a documentary that's inspired by my mum, who is partially deaf, and it's about how people get jobs and if they're able to progress in their work or if they're stuck on a glass ceiling if they can't push through it.
My name is Sandra Jacobs. My deafness, I was 18 months and I had measles and that left me deaf, but only partially deaf.
Okay.
I wear 2 hearing aids which help.
Where are you working at the moment?
In the supermarket.
How long have you been working there?
9 years now. I've worked in several different departments, so it's been interesting, but it's very limited to what I can do. I can't move up and become supervisor or a manager even. You need to use the telephone. You need to be able to communicate with people on the walkie-talkie.
Do you think your company needs to be updated if you wanted to progress higher? Or is it something the government...
I think the technology they've got is suitable for them but not suitable for deaf people. So they really need to spend a little bit of money and bring it up to date so that deaf people can progress as well. At the moment it's just, oh, you're deaf, you can't do that. So, you know, it's, in a way, it's good for the younger people, hearing people, but if you get a deaf person then they will stay at the same level, whereas a hearing person, young person, will progress and get a really good job later on in life. If there's a fire drill, they say to me, oh, 9 o'clock, fire drill. Or I have to watch my watch, and if it's 9 o'clock and I see people running out, then I know it's a fire drill and I go. But one or two people will come round and try and find me, but I'm already outside. So
do you think that's quite dangerous? If
it is dangerous, it is, because they're wasting their time looking for me.
And you're already outside.
And I'm already outside. So they need to be aware that, you know, I might be in there, I might be in the toilet, I might be in the warehouse. So, you know, it's dangerous for me and dangerous for them as well.
Do you think that deaf people are segregated in your workplace?
Not always, sometimes. I mean, I'm very lucky because I've got work colleagues and we all sit together, same age group, we have a laugh. They know about my deafness, so they know not to shout out and say, oh, can you do this, do that. But if you get a young deaf person there, it is very difficult for them, because a lot of young hearing people think, I can't talk to that person because he's deaf.
How does it work getting an interpreter?
You have to phone social services.
Freelance interpreters can range from £110 to £500 or more per day. Because of the Equality Act, companies and services must provide an interpreter for hospital appointments and job interviews. And if a deaf person has a job, they are entitled to access to work funding. When you went for an interview at your job, did you find it difficult to get the job at all, or was it quite easy?
No, it was quite easy because I had an interpreter there.
Did you think that technology needs to be...
It does need to be adapted, upgraded, so that deaf people can get to where they want to be.
Have you had any difficulty with customers?
Yeah, I mean, you get very nasty customers that think you shouldn't be working there.
How do you handle that situation?
I have to handle it in the best way I can, but I know that management will support me.
In your job, would you like to progress, or are you not bothered about it anymore?
I'm not bothered at all about progressing in my job. I'm quite happy with what I do because I'm a retirement age now, so this suits me. But if I was young and I wanted to progress, it would be very difficult.
Are there any other deaf people working in your shop?
No other deaf person works there.
Were there other deaf people working in your shop?
There was deaf people working in there, but everybody's just left and I'm on my own now.
Sandra's long-term friend, June Mullins, has been trying to get work in the supermarket that Sandra works in. June has also worked in the civil service and received an MBE for all her hard work helping poor children in third world countries.
What type of deafness have you got? How did it start? She was born deaf. Born deaf.
Is she partially deaf?
Partially deaf? Yes.
Oh, okay. She wear a hearing aid?
You wear a hearing aid? Yes.
Were there any problems working in the civil service with anyone? Did you find it difficult? Or
Any problems working in civil service with other people, hearing people? No? It was very good. Very good. I will agreed in trying to help June with her job.
was there any language barrier?
How they know what you were saying, language, different. They understand. Yeah, she told them the British Sign Language. Yeah. She said, she told them about the BSL, British Sign Language, and she said, if you like, I will teach you a little bit.
Have you found it difficult to get work now, trying to get a job?
You find it difficult to get work now? Yes.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think
Because of the age,
age?
and she's deaf.
Have you ever been told by an employer that's the reason?
No, but has anybody told you the reason why you can't get the job? Nothing. Nothing. But you feel.
Why did you get an MBE?
Why did you receive the MBE? Because she worked hard. She worked hard on a low grade and to help her boss, and she was going to go to India to teach deaf children there, but unfortunately she retired.
Before she could do it?
Yeah.
Have you tried to get June a job in your city?
I have tried to get you a job, but every time they say no vacancies, no vacancies. A lot of people are being employed, but it's not fair. Why not her? Why them?
How did you get your work? How did you find out about getting a job?
I went to the Betsley Deaf Centre, which used to be in Betsley Village. They had a job club, and I asked them if they could help me, and they said, yeah, you need a CV. So I said, I don't know how to do a CV. So they'd done all that for me, they helped me, and got some application forms for different supermarkets, and one of them came up, which I filled in and sent my CV, and I got to hear about a job there within a month.
Oh, that's good.
And yeah, I went for they called me up for an exam. I went to do the exam, and they said I passed.
For the supermarket job?
For the supermarket job. And they said I'd pass, and would I like to go in the following week for an induction day. And I went. They paid me for the day because I was there, and they said, fine, we give you your uniform, you start the following week, and that's how it happened.
After finding out that my mum got her job through the Bexley Deaf Centre, I decided to go there myself to find out how else the centre helps deaf people and if there have been a lot of career success stories because of this organisation.
My name's Rick Page. I'm a sort of support officer. It's a drop-in centre for the deaf people. They can come by any time if they've got any problems with utility bills, etc. If they need phone calls made, obviously they can't make phone calls themselves. So they come in and we'll make phone calls for them, we'll help them with any bills or letters. We've got a job club that deaf people come to. It helps them to try and find work, because it's very hard for deaf people to go and find work independently. So you get about 3, 4, maybe 5 people come along on a Wednesday, and they get help from the volunteers at the Deaf Centre. And just at the moment, a couple of them are going, I think they're in the final stages of maybe getting an interview for some supermarket work. So that's pretty good. The Job Club helps them by making phone calls for them, explaining online interviews. The questions seem to be very in-depth and use a lot of words that deaf people wouldn't understand, because the deaf vocabulary is very limited. When you're signing, everything is kept to a brief minimum.
I spoke to a woman called Shirley who has come to the job club every week for the past 9 months and has not been successful in getting work. I asked her why. Why did you get the job?
I don't know why. I got the interview letter. There's nothing. I don't know why.
Okay. So you had the interview already?
Interview with instruction, yeah.
With interpreter. Okay. Why do you think it's been hard to get work?
Yeah, hard work. Because the future was cutting money. I'm looking for some, give money, shut down.
Oh, okay, so because of the recession, you think that's why it's hard? Okay. So what bad things happens because you're deaf? What happened?
Because all ear want me one person.
All hearing.
One person with the ear, but ears looking work is but shot the neck out me dead. Me hard work, me cut thread, work. Don't think people talking about. I can't hear the back behind.
Yeah.
Not right.
So they were talking about you?
I don't know, talk about what, but we talk about me or talk about everything else.
So they were just chatting, and the manager made you work really hard and didn't say anything to hearing people. Okay.
But come in pushy, making more work.
Okay.
Making neck work.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
So they pushed you to work hard,
hard
and
work.
they easy.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything.
We have about 4 people who come into the job centre regularly. It's been the same 4 since I started in September, and unfortunately none of them have been fortunate enough to find a job yet. I think a lot of it's got to do with work being advertised online now, job applications all being online. I think there's a lot of hidden discrimination online. All job applications are supposed to be read by someone, but the reply comes back so immediately that it can't have been read by someone, so it must be something in the application that it's just been rejected straight off without them. And then if they were met, if they had a face-to-face interview, anyone could see that they're perfectly capable of doing the job.
What difficulties do deaf people face when they start a new job? And how does the Deaf Centre help? welcome them?
They have a support worker when they first start. In fact, it's not just when they first start, it's all through whenever they want. And if there's any problems, they can just text or come in, and then the support worker will go into the place of employment and help them sort it out.
To find out if there is enough awareness being created for deaf people in society, I went to the Adult Education Centre to meet Victoria, who is studying British Sign Language Level 1. I wanted to know why she's learning BSL and what her past experiences at work have been like, as she is also partially deaf. To come to the Adult Education Centre to learn BSL Level 1, why are you learning it?
Partly because I'm half deaf myself, and partly because I just think it's an interesting thing to do, and because what I want to eventually do is become a deaf teacher, really.
Do you think it would be a good idea if BSL was taught in schools then?
Yeah, I do think it would be. I mean, not that I know a huge amount of deaf people, but it's one of those things that is it's not worldly known. I mean, a lot of people think it's stupid, but I mean, you know, there's so many people, there's a large percentage of people that are deaf, you know, so why not? And I mean, I think it should be compulsory, really, to learn it.
Who's ever thought it was stupid? Has anyone said that to you?
Yes, my mum.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah, she doesn't accept that I'm actually half deaf myself anyway, so I'm just like, right, okay. So.
Was you born half deaf?
Yes, I was actually. I only found out recently, but I found out that because the bones in my ear didn't grow properly, it's just made me deaf in that ear, so in my right ear. So I do wear a hearing aid, but I'm not actually wearing it at the moment. So.
Oh, okay. Is that out of choice or because?
My dog kind of ate it.
So your dog ate your homework.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm getting my new hearing aid soon. Can't wait.
So you said you work as a nursery nurse. When did you start doing that?
Only about 2 months ago, actually.
Oh, okay.
So fairly recently. It's because I only moved to the area about 8 months ago, so I was trying to find a job and everything, so it took a while, but I eventually got there. So, but I enjoy being there, so it's good. I mean, obviously I do want to eventually work with older children, and I am actually doing a course to do that. But obviously at the moment, they're lovely, you know, apart from the changing nappies part, it's all good.
So where have you worked in the past?
I've worked in several places. I mean, I've worked in a nursing home, I have worked in a school for 6 months, I've worked in a shop for 5 years as well, so not too bad, but I mean, I've also been turned down for jobs, so quite a few of them.
In your past jobs, have you been discriminated against because you're deaf?
Yes, I have. I mean, so a lot of people think that if you're deaf, you're fully deaf, so you can't hear anything. And it's quite funny when they start discussing you behind your back, and you can listen into what they say, so it's quite funny. But I mean, to be honest, I haven't had too many, but I mean, I've had jobs where I've got given the job and then I say, well, I do wear a hearing aid, and they say, oh, well, someone else has got it. So it's a little bit weird, but there we go.
What kind of things have happened at work then in your job?
Well, not in this job, but a previous job I've had, people just literally say, oh, well, she's just stupid, or I've had all sorts say to me things that you can't really repeat, but I've had quite a few things that are just...
Is it because you're deaf?
Yeah, just purely because of that.
Do you think that your career ambition to be able to teach children how to sign, do you think that's an easy goal, and are you...
Yes and no. Obviously I have to learn sign language, and obviously I'm only on level 1 at the moment, but I'm doing my teacher training, so I mean that will cover that part. But I'm hoping to do that. I mean, it might take a couple of years, but what's a couple of years if you can make a difference, you know?
So what advice would you give a deaf person trying to get their dream job?
Depends what it is. I mean, to be honest, I found a lot of deaf people can get into teaching jobs, partly because they're not allowed to discriminate, partly that, and partly just because they're more willing to take you on because they know that you've got a disability, but they want to show the children that it doesn't make a difference, you know. I mean, whatever you want to do, you know, just try your hardest. Don't waste your time. Just go for it, you know. Don't think someone's just going to hand it to you. Of course not. But don't expect then someone to turn around and say, "Oh, you've done a good job if you haven't done anything." Yeah. You know, what can you do?
I went to speak to Samuel Dorr, who is a deaf filmmaker, to ask him what his experiences have been like trying to get work in an extremely competitive field. Could you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Samuel Dorr and I'm a filmmaker. I'm soon to be 36. I'm based in London, originally from Bristol. I'm a freelance filmmaker and I make all sorts of things like dramas, documentaries, promos, advertisements and whatever. I'm also a graphic designer and a photographer and I love films.
What would you like about your job? What's your passion?
I love being a filmmaker. I grew up watching a lot of films as a child in the 80s. When cinema, had makers like Steven Spielberg, and Indiana Jones films, Star Wars. At that time, they were these great blockbusters that I grew up watching as a child. And they were amazing. They were all the ghost films, science, fiction films, setting your imagination on fire. And real escapism type films. But what's interesting is at the time we didn't have subtitles, or what was accessible was limited. So cinema subtitling was definitely not happening. The only films that were subtitles were foreign films, which I wasn't interested in. Or at home there was some subtitling, but only on a few programs. And so I used my imagination much more when I watched films.
So you love directing and being very visual then and putting everything together. Yeah. I think as a deaf person, I'm much more visual. I tend to find that there's a real relationship between my visuality, if you like, and my directing in a visual way. When you are directing, is it easy to translate your vision through an interpreter? In regards to access with my interpreters and how they help me make films, what's important for me is that I get the right interpreter. I have a group of interpreters that I work with who are media savvy, who are familiar with the jargon, who know the ethics of the setting, and they know various things. So when I have the right interpreter, that helps. In films, quite often things are made at the last minute, schedules are put together at the last minute, and so I'm limited, and that makes it difficult for me to get those interpreters. When I have an interpreter on set, if I have someone who I've booked at the last minute and they don't understand, it makes it more difficult. It's a more stressful situation because I need to make sure they understand what's going on at the beginning of every day, and I lose a lot of time having to do that. Was it easy becoming a filmmaker? Or was it quite hard to work your way up? At the moment, as a digital filmmaker, it's amazing. It's much more accessible now. It's cheaper, quality is better, the internet makes everything available, there's broadband. There is nothing stopping you, so I can go places where I want to go. I can learn and film, etc. For films to do with deaf people, there are no limitations. People can make films themselves. Do you have a lot of emotional support from your clients when you do a job because of your deafness, or are they fine either way?
It's an interesting question. A lot of my clients aren't bothered at all by the fact that I'm deaf. They often get me in because they see the strength in my work. And I do have lots of hearing clients who have seen my work, they know my work, and they're happy to work with me and happy to work with an interpreter as well. And there's no issue to do with sound because I have the interpreter there for that element. So fortunately, I've not experienced any discrimination. But when I send copy of my work, if there's some elements in there to do with deafness, like sign language or deaf culture, I think perhaps they think, oh, it's a deaf thing, or I don't know. But I don't know, I'm only imagining. That's what they're thinking. And to be honest, I don't say that I'm a deaf filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker, and I make films, and I happen to be deaf. So on my CV, the work that I produce, I don't make a deal about being deaf. To me, it's just normal. I'm a filmmaker.
What advice would you give somebody who's deaf trying to get into the film industry or trying to pursue their dream job?
My advice to deaf filmmakers would be, in digital, you don't need to spend a lot of money. It's already there. You can borrow equipment. A lot of software has free editing involved already. There's nothing stopping you. You can just go out and piece everything together. I think what the key thing is, though, is to just get out there and don't think, oh, because I'm deaf, I can't do these things. I think the only way that we're going to sort of be promoted, to get more experience, is to just keep making films, accept that we make mistakes, keep practicing, keep working on it until you feel more confident, and just keep getting out there.
Even though the younger generation can find jobs easier than the older generation, it is still difficult for deaf people to get work. It is clear that there still needs to be more help given to deaf people. What is disturbing is the possibility that discrimination is still alive in our culture. Hopefully, in time, people will become more open-minded and willing to accept the deaf community into our society. Samuel Dorr has been able to become successful in an extremely competitive industry, which gives hope to other deaf people to break through the glass ceiling that so many are under.